Hi, I'm Brett. Welcome back to Simplifying AI, episode 46. A quick reminder that if you haven't listened to episodes 44 and 45, the first two in season 4, you might want to listen quickly as they'll help you understand the Simplifying AI system. Or you can go to simplifyingai.net and just take a look at it. It's not essential, just helpful before this episode. So, here's a question I get asked regularly, usually from people who are a little embarrassed to ask the question. How much AI should I be using? And underneath that simple question is a consistent worry. People look around and feel like everyone else is racing ahead, building robots in their basements and automating their whole lives. And they're still just typing in a question now and then, so they figure they're doing it wrong. But they're not. You're not doing it wrong. I'm not doing it wrong. They're not doing it wrong. We are at whatever level we're at. And today, I want to give you something that I think will take a lot of the pressure off that idea about what level I'm at. It's the second of our 4 fours, the 4 levels. And so last episode, we talked about the tools, the LLM, some kind of research tool, the agentic system of some kind, and then the workflow. Today, it's about depth, the 4 different levels of depth. How far into the water, using that water metaphor again, do you actually want to go? And the good news is you get to choose. So let's dive in. Before we actually jump into the main idea, it's time for everyone's AI news. As always, I only pick the news that actually matters for normal, everyday users, people living normal lives, not the stuff that excites the engineers. So 2 things this week, and both come straight from the companies that make these tools that we use most often. First, Google's Gemini just added something called a daily brief. Google announced it at their big I/O event in May, but at that time it wasn't really available, which was kind of annoying. Now it's available, and they've explained it on their official blog. So the idea is really pretty simple. Overnight, Gemini looks at your Gmail inbox, your Google Calendar, and your follow-ups. And in the morning, it hands you one short, skimmable summary of what matters today, based on those data sources. Think of it like a friendly assistant leaving a sticky note that says, "Here's your day." You don't have to be technical to use it. You just have to activate it. And so if you're already working in a personal Gmail and calendar account, and you're on one of Google's paid AI plans, then it's available to you in the United States. And it's a really great example of a simple agentic tool that you don't really have to know a whole lot about to use. The second bit of news is that ChatGPT's everyday model just got more trustworthy. According to an official AI announcement, OpenAI rolled out a new default version called GPT 5.5 Instant, which will open by default when you use ChatGPT. And this is for everyone, including people on the free plan, which is really nice. The headline for us regular folks is that in their own testing, it produced about 52% fewer hallucinations or made-up answers than the previous version. Now, it's always important to stop and talk about how with every iteration or new model or version, they have gotten better and better at the hallucinations. But it's still important, especially on the high-stakes stuff like medical questions, legal questions, and money questions. Now, I'll say again what I always say. You should never fully trust AI. And 52% fewer is great, but that's still not zero. So we should always check. Now, one thing that I suggest, especially for busy people, is that if you get some information from, say, ChatGPT that you're not sure about, you can take that data, go over to Gemini, and ask it to check the data providing sources. And if it can't, it'll tell you. And so it should be able to be cited or found in numerous different sources. It's a great way to check on the things that are really important. But in my experience, the AI is getting better and better. And as we get better, the results get better. So it's moving in the right direction, and that's good for all of us. So, an AI brief every morning and lower levels of hallucination. Now, these are not level 4 stuff. This isn't genius AI, but it is a step forward. So, just using AI a little more regularly is going to be helpful. And if we trust it more, we can do more. It's the difference between dipping a toe in the water and actually wading in to swim, which is exactly what today's episode is about. Now, a quick reminder so we know where this fits. The whole simplifying AI system runs on 4 sets of 4. I call them the 4 fours of AI. And last time in episode 45, we covered the first one, the tools. You can kind of think of these like the gears and how they fit together. And if you need to, you can go back and listen to that episode. So this kind of focuses on the fundamental, most basic stuff that should be in our toolbox. Today is the second 4, the levels, how deep you go. And next time, we'll talk about the concepts or principles, which is kind of the mindset. And then after that, we'll focus on the domains, which is where in your life you use it. So 4 different parts, 1 picture. Today, we're talking about depth. So remember, we don't want to view this process like climbing a ladder, where we're failing if we don't reach the top, like it's one sequential process that has to happen right away. We want it to settle in and use AI in our everyday lives however it best fits. A lot of people will remain at level 1 or 2, and that is completely fine and wonderful if it meets their needs. So we also want to remember the AI as water metaphor because it helps us understand how people can move from one level to another and what the goals are and benefits are for each of these levels. And so it kind of relates to how people work or how comfortable they are in different ways. And so the first level is what I call the beachcomber. And the beachcomber is metaphorically the person who walks the shoreline, pokes their toe in whenever they can, and then they might play around with something that washes up on shore, and then maybe they go into their knees or their waist and have a drink or whatever. And this is the person who opens up ChatGPT or Gemini every couple days, every now and then, and asks a one-off question like, what's a good substitute for buttermilk in my recipe? Or help me word this text to my landlord, or explain this medical term the doctor used. I need to understand it. And that's basically it. Whenever it comes up, the goal for this level is basically discovery, getting a feel for what AI can do and discovering some of the potential. It's also about exposure to AI and getting more comfortable with it. And once again, let me be clear, this is a real legitimate level, and there's nothing wrong with just using AI at level 1. If you're a beachcomber, you are using it, you're not falling behind, you're just at the shoreline. And the shoreline is a perfectly nice place to be. Ask all the tourists here in Door County where I live. Now, level 2 is when we move to the swimmer level. And the swimmer is in the water regularly, but it's important to note that we don't swim all day. We might swim on a daily or weekly basis, probably more often once we get better at it. And this is where AI becomes part of your routine. The swimmer uses it to draft emails, maybe ones that they've been dreading, or ones that are really, really important, or ones that aren't very important and just need to be done quickly. We use AI at this level to summarize long documents, to make packing lists, to untangle confusing bills. And the goal here is about productivity. It's about saving yourself real time on the stuff you already have to do, and then looking for places where you can do more with AI for different reasons. Now, remember the news I mentioned, the morning brief and the weekly reminders, that's swimmer territory. You've stopped asking, what is this? And you've started saying, okay, help me with this thing on my schedule. Help me be more efficient. Help me do a better job as well at the same time I'm getting it done more quickly. And for many people at this level, that's about saving time for the things you want to spend more effort on, or to get things done more quickly for people who are, working at home or solopreneurs or independent. This is where AI really does start giving you genuine time back. But it's important to remember that it can do a lot more. And that's when we get to level 3. The surfer. Now, the surfer doesn't just swim around in the water or float in the water, or just use it to hold them up, which there's nothing wrong with that again. But they use the power in the water to propel themselves forward, to go faster than they could possibly go on their own. They catch a wave and let it do the work of carrying them, of moving them someplace, and then they steer, they guide it, they make decisions. And that's the big leap at this level. Level 3 users stop typing every request from scratch and start setting up AI to work for them. This is where you might build personal assistants and let them run. So in plain terms, that means that you're using the make it your own features the tools now offer, but you're doing it. You're actually creating it. You're not just activating it. Things like Google's Gems and custom GPTs and ChatGPT are simple examples. I have a lot of gems. I use one for my beekeeping. I haven't turned it into a project or turned it into anything dynamically agentic. It keeps track of all of my hives and when I've treated and what they looked like 3 months ago. And I can just open it up and ask it, what did hive Azul look like 3 months ago? And I put all the data in there. I created it. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. Now, there's also projects in Claude and OpenAI, and those are a step up, a little bit more. And then the newer tools, the agentic tools that are extraordinary, are things like OpenAI's Codex, Claude Cowork and Code, and others. Now, it's not important that you remember the names right now. The idea is the most important part, and it should be simple. Instead of explaining yourself over and over or doing things you don't need to do, you set up an assistant or a process once, and then a bunch of that work is done for you. So tell it who you are or how you want things done, and here's the job. So an example is setting up your own chief of staff, which used to be harder, but it's getting easier and easier now. And then it handles many jobs for you. And then you give it the amount of freedom that you are comfortable with. Now, a surfer might build a little assistant that drafts their newsletter in their own voice, or one that sorts through a folder of documents and pulls out what matters. The goal here is harnessing the power, getting AI to carry the load while you steer. And harness is actually the term that AI experts use for creating the structure around the inherent model. We'll talk about that more later. Now, you don't need to be a surfer to get enormous value from AI, but this is where it starts to feel less like a tool that you pick up and more like a helper, like an assistant that's already working in the background. And when you get there, and now it's getting easier and easier to do because of the upgrades that the models and the companies are providing, it's really fun. It's a fun level. And this is where you move more from everyday users thinking, how can I save time, to everyday users realizing, oh my God, I can do these things that I would never have been able to do before. It's exciting. Now, level 4, the phase that I call the diver, is when you go down below the surface and you start understanding more how things work and creating some of these connections more so on your own. The diver is building things, custom assistants that need more than one tool or more than one connection, little apps, automated systems that run on their own. And this is the deep end because it uses more specialized tools and you have to understand more about what's going on. And I'll be honest with you, many people will never get to level 4, don't want to go to level 4, and don't need to be at level 4. And that is completely okay. I believe everyday AI users should use AI to help them with their life and to improve the quality of their work and to get things done more quickly and to accomplish things that they might not have been able to do before. But it has to fit in their life. So you shouldn't feel bad at all about not getting to that end. I just want you to know what goes on there. And if you want to, you can certainly do it. And the reason I know that is because I did. And, I'm an English teacher. who has really gotten excited about this. So most people won't get pulled into it, but some will. There's nothing wrong with staying at level 1, 2, or 3. And that's it. The beachcomber, swimmer, surfer, and diver levels. Discovery, productivity, new possibilities, and building and understanding AI systems. The point of naming them isn't to rank you. It's the opposite. It's to let you stop comparing yourself to the divers you might see online or hear about and just ask a simpler question. Where am I right now, and how can I grow to accomplish my goals? All true answers are good answers. So your one assignment this week, and it's an easy one, is to simply name your level, out loud even. You could say, I'm a beachcomber, or I'm a swimmer, and that's the whole thing. Because once you can name where you are, your next step gets kind of obvious and pretty simple. And simple is how this system is designed to work. If you'd like help figuring out your level or finding out what that next simple step is, that's exactly what I do. You can find and connect with me on Facebook or at simplifyingai.net or enhancededucationservices.com. And at simplifyingai.net, you can set up a free, no-pressure conversation with just by answering a few questions. There's no such thing as too basic at simplifyingai.net. The whole system is set up to be simple and grow without that pressure. In the next episode, we'll go to the third of the 4 fours, the concepts or principles, the handful of ideas that keep all of this human and keep you in charge. I think it might be my favorite of the 4s. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Brett. This is Simplifying AI, and I'll see you next time.